Okay, so this is the first battle, the unification of Sumer and Acadia. This is going to be King Sargon of Acadia, and famed for a chess program named after him. And the Sumerian king is Lugal-Zagizi, somewhere around 2320 BC. Wow. And basically we know nothing. They're being given essentially equivalent forces, actually exactly equivalent forces. Something I missed in the rules I'll hit in a second. Setup is largely at the player's options. I set up my, these are Sumerians, right? Yeah. I set up my Sumerians in 2 lines of shock infantry with the better stuff in front. I've kind of learned in SPQR at least that I kind of want good stuff up there. Missile units on the flanks. Pretty much almost a kind of a traditional type of setup. Got the leader back here with his standard. And I put this wagon back here kind of as a reserve. The wagon's not going to be very mobile, but it gives me an additional missile unit. My feeling here is missile units should win the day. And then over here with Sargon, he's a clever fellow. He's actually better at everything. He's got a better initiative rating. And that's what I didn't explain. With initiative, at the beginning of each turn, you roll a die, you add the initiative ratings. The guy who gets higher gets to pick one of his AMs to fire off. To start, he gets to hold it at the beginning of the turn. So he gets to do the first action. If you tie, well, it goes random into the cup, and you see. And that first action that's won by initiative, if it happens, can't be trumped in on like some of the others. Anyway, minor addendum to the rules. I'm assuming anybody at all interested in this, beyond the rules that I've already given, is probably going to be watching this. Okay. So I tried for kind of what looked like a more interesting setup here with the infantry spread out into an ability to kind of do a little bit more enveloping type attack. Sargon gets to set up second, and well, I figured if he comes from an angle and has the extra troops to swing around, that will be to his advantage. And he's using his missile units more as a skirmisher type line, including the wagon there at the end. The wagon's hard to maneuver, so it seemed trickier. But remember, we also have, in addition to the advantage that Sargon has with his initiative, I believe he's also the better fighter. He's a 7-8 here. Ooh, and he gets worse when he's on foot at initiative as well. It's not just... Oh, and that other value, his range also goes down. Neat. So you kind of don't want them on foot. And this guy's a 6-5, and he also significantly reduces. Anyway, we're going to give this a shot, play it out. I'll probably make some mistakes. That's just par for the course for me. Okay, let's kick things off with a quick initiative roll. I should have probably taken a blue and a green die just for ease, but these, I don't know, they're kind of nice dice, so I said I'd use them. I'll use black up here for the Sumerians. And essentially we've just got a +1 on the white die. And wow, they each roll zeros. Oh, you know what's not in here, because no continuations, none of that die roll of doom type stuff. I kind of like that, and I kind of like a lot of the randomness that the Great Battles of History in SPQR at least generates. I don't feel like I'm going to get that in this jet pull system. Let's make sure I'm doing this right. We roll a die to see which player has initiative as per 5.1. And I'm going to be having to do this throughout. Is reading the player with the higher modified die roll. Okay, so I don't remember who was who, but they rolled the same. That means Sargon's going to get initiative, and he gets the first pick, chit pick. I don't think he can take his momentum chit for this. Yeah, looks like you could. I don't know. Um, yeah, I think I'd rather pick my momentum chit than the other one. And this whole chit pull is kind of weird with just 3 chits in there. Alright, well, I get to make a roll to see if I want to go. The problem is I'm going to get my moved marker. I don't really desire to go. So I'm just going to pass that initiative. And now we draw again. And in a sense, it just kills his thing. We got a momentum chip for Sumer. I don't think he particularly wants to take 2 activations here. So he'll hold off as well. And now Sumer's got to go if they want to go. So I'll start moving my units. Leaders don't have a movement allowance on them, but they have, I think, 9 movement if they're mounted and 5 if they're on foot. There's not a whole lot to do here. I think what I'm going to do is kind of try to shift my wing into position so that I'm getting the outflank. Of course, the Acadians are going to be able to react to that. So the flip side of units, I believe, is for marking units that are out of command. That's what I seem to remember, although I'm not finding it here. It's something like that, which seems like a significant drop from the moved. So, you know, all these guys have moved, great. Kind of makes more sense to me to mark individual units, since it's individual units that take the hits. The out of command really doesn't require that much. Anyway, I've moved my Sumerians up, and they're kind of getting disorganized because of the cost to move, to rotate, etc. I'm not in the position. One thing that I did was I moved my standard with my leader. You're allowed to do that. The problem is, if you do that when there's routed units around, they all just run from the battle if they're within 3 hexes of the standard. So once you start taking casualties, you don't want to be moving your standard around much, I guess. Alright, well, we got one more chip left, and we'll put that here. And I may end up starting to flip units when they're moved, just because I think actually that might work better. I know it's a fiddly aspect that people hate about the Great Battles of History, but there just aren't very many of these moved markers. It may not be a big deal. It may be that I can just say a whole command moved in most cases. I don't know. And well, not a lot here, but Sargon maintains his formation, moving forward, kind of at an oblique. Getting ready for that outflank. He thinks he can still manage it now. The Sumerians have kind of are essentially refusing while they're trying to wheel, but they're having trouble. Not that there's any real difficulty to it. It's just these things are kind of slow, and it costs movement points to do anything. We'll see how it sort of develops. But we're on to the next turn. And there's really not much on the approach. Okay, here we are moving into the second turn. I rolled the initiative. Ended up getting a draw, which means we're just going to be drawing chip pulls. And it's kind of funny because in normal Great Battles of History, it's the best leaders who get to go last. The elite leader gets to kind of jump in and do an initial strike if he wants one. But for the most part, going later is an advantage. So it seems to me that the initiative bonus that a better leader gets is actually not necessarily a bonus. It makes him act first, and that may be, like here, using up an action. In general, I think I'm happy enough with one. And, well, Sumerians get their momentum. They don't want to double move. And likewise... And now I can see both the chits, so I have to shake it again. Kind of a painful thing. Alright, so now we've got to do the Acadians, and I'll shift them. I'll show you at the end of the turn, because I don't think there's going to be any combat yet. Well, I was mistaken. Sargon advanced within range. Now you're seeing the first Sumerian unit, a light infantry, charging up. Now, it's gotten within 1, which means I get to do a javelin shot with these guys. And really, I'm just kind of testing out the combat system here. I've got a battle wagon firing at... no, I'm sorry. I've got a javelin firing at a light infantry. That gives me a 2 bonus. That's not going to go well for the light infantry. So let's see. With -2 on the armor chart, 1 hex. I got a 0, which will be a hit. Doesn't look like there's any other effects there. Actually, I got a -2. But that's going to be 1 cohesion hit on these slingers. But now they get to make their shot as well. And we'll fire them. Now they're slingers firing at a battle wagon. They've got a 0. It's slingers at 1 hex. But they've got a possible penalty for movement. If a light infantry with B or C, no, that's not slingers. So 0 through 5, he does a hit. And he does a hit as well on that wagon. Oh, one thing I didn't mention in the rules, same as in SPQR, there's a possibility to run out of ammo. But here, it's simplified. It only happens on a 9 with any weapon. You get the missile low marker. That means you got 1 more shot. All right, I'll continue moving forward. And when we get a shock combat, I'll show you that too. Okay, well, there was significant missile fire coming in because the Sumerians decided to engage. They're trying to hit. Well, they must hit in all these cases. They don't have to make a tactical quality check. By the way, I checked my SPQR rules, and it is totally different. And it may make sense. Those formed units might fail to attack or take a cohesion hit for the charge that these less formed units are not going to take. However, what we do have to do is, let's take a look at this, pre-shock TQ effect. Let me make sure I'm doing it right. All the attacking units didn't have to check. They have these no TQ check markers on them. But then the targets all have to check. And let's start looking at some of these. By the way, unlike javelin throwers in SPQR, these guys don't lose their missile for fighting in melee. I did not retreat with them. They could have done an orderly withdrawal. It doesn't seem to serve any purpose. I put these forward as skirmishers, so they're going to serve as well as any skirmishers do in SPQR, which is pretty piss poor. Probably a mistake by Sargon's hand. You kind of want to use your missile troops to attack with rather than to defend with. Anyway, let's take a look at what we've got here. We've got a tactical quality check, and each step is done for each unit. This is important to prevent breakthroughs or anything like that from happening, because that would be unrealistic. So since it's kind of a line, I'm going to do them all. Tactical quality check, he's only got a 2 tactical quality, so he missed by 1, and that means he takes a hit. Now, that kind of sucks for the Sumerians, because that unit probably should have broken. Now we do the same here. He's fine. Over to this. Well, he's breaking, so he gets a little route marker. Maybe. Let's see. He may have just broken. Now, we go to the route rules in this, and they're a little different, right? We make another tactical quality check. He failed. He's gone. One of these shocking units is going to have to come in, but that's going to be 3 points lost from him. So There aren't a lot of points here, so that was kind of expensive. There cannot be a shock here because the light infantry is not allowed. If I can find my correct chart, it's somewhere. It's not even allowed to be an attack in a shock battle, no matter what. Okay. So, I believe we have an advance here, and I'm going to send my shock infantry forward, because even though the battle wagons are tough, I don't want to lose them. I don't know. You know, I mean, I don't have a feel for these things. Let's take a look at now our individual shock combats. This one is an SI hitting a light infantry from the flank. That doesn't sound good for the light infantry, but it doesn't mean a positional advantage. That's only from a rear attack here. So an SI hitting an LI, that's going to be an attack superiority though. And in addition to that attack superiority, I'm going to get the flank positional, which makes it actually better than hitting them from the back for whatever reason. Maybe they can run away faster from the front if they're attacked from the back. Okay, so I've got attack superiority. I'm an SI versus an LI. That puts me on table 12. Any other advantages? No numerical because we each have one unit. 2 columns further, that's going to put me out to 14 or so. And probably no defensive bonuses. So this is not good. We get a 4. I don't think there are any pluses. No, that's only leadership that gives dice. So, oh, here's another different thing. Defender Superior is triple damage instead of double. Okay, so 4 over on this is 1 to 4. So this guy is going to take a hit. And this guy is broken. Now, how badly broken is he? He's all broken. I'm allowed to pivot 1 facing after that attack. And that's 2 more of these points. And Sargon's not doing well. And for my final attack here, I once again have an SI against an LI. I probably should have protected my bowmen and slingers, maybe not the javelins as much. I think they're kind of lousy. But SI, that's an attacker superiority, table 12, and we're going to have the doubled because of that. Ooh! A 10 may be something special, but what I wanted to say here, or no, a 0 may be something special. What I wanted to say here is, look, there are results here that do no damage to the attacker and to the defender. That's different. Okay, a 0 is not good. That's 2 to 1. So this guy takes 2 more hits. He's not broken. His overall number is better than that. But well, he takes 2. That's going to wreck him. So we make a roll. And he holds routed. Now he just kind of teleports back here in a routed state. And this guy pushes forward. And we're actually at the end of this phase. Nothing's engaged because they broke all their units. That's the end of the turn. There would be moved markers on each of these units, but there aren't. So, that's about where we are, and I'll load this one up.